Regent's Park is one of the royal parks of London, located in northern parts of central London. The land originally belonged to the Church of England but was taken by Henry VIII in 1538 and was used as royal hunting grounds. The park was later named after the Prince Regent in the early 19th century. Around 1811, the famous architect John Nash was commissioned to design the park as part of a grand scheme for London. His design included elegant terraces of houses, villas, and a large central parkland. The outer circle and inner circle road still follows Nash's layout. Inside, you'll find the Queen Mary's Gardens with thousands of roses, Regent's University, and ZSL's London Zoo, the world's oldest zoo, opened in 1828. Park also includes lakes, sports pitches, open lawns. Regent's Park has hosted many events over the years, including concerts, exhibitions, and even, which we are going to discuss today, the Regent's Park skating disaster of 1867. In the mid-19th century, ice skating was the height of fashion. Illustrated papers showed elegant couples gliding hand in hand, and children laughed as they clung to their parents. On that particular day, as many as 2,000 people gathered at Regent's Park. The surface of the lake was alive with activity. Some moved gracefully, others stumbled and fell, but everyone shared in the thrill. Music could be faintly heard from a nearby bandstand, mingling with the sounds of blades scraping against the ice and a murmur of excited crowds. To most eyes, the ice looked reassuring solid. Frost glittered across its surface, and it groaned under the weight of the skaters. But the thickness of the ice varied dangerously in some places. It was several inches deep, strong enough to hold a crowd. In other places, especially nearer the middle, it was thin and tenuous. Those who had skated on the park lake before knew that appearances could be deceiving. Beneath the smooth surface lay water that was bone, chilling cold, dark, and unforgiving. Park keepers, concerned about the sheer number of people, had already noticed cracks forming around the parts of the ice. A few cautious visitors too remarked on the sharp sounds echoing beneath their feet. Some shouted for others to move back from the thinner areas, but excitement carried the day. People laughed at the warnings, insisted the ice was safe. After all, hundreds were already on it. For many, it was unthinkable that such a happy afternoon could take a darker turn. At around 4 o'clock, the moment of disaster came. With a sound like cannon fire, a great sheet of ice gave way. Dozens of skaters were suddenly swallowed by the water. As huge cracks raced across the lake, the air filled with screams and cries for help. Whole families were separated in seconds, one member safe on the ice, while others vanished into the freezing water. What had begun with laughter and music turned into an instant terror. The scene was one of chaos. Men, women and children thrashed in the water, their heavy boots and coats dragging them down. Some clung to floating chunks of ice, their faces pale with shock, while others disappeared below the surface before help could reach them. Those who managed to scramble onto broken sheets found that the ice cracked again beneath their weight. Onlookers rushed to the edge of the lake, shouting encouragement, their arms outstretched, but unable to reach the drowning. When calm slowly returned, the terrible cost was revealed. It was estimated that around 200 people had been pitched into the water. Thanks to the bravery of rescuers, and a majority survived, but at least 40 souls were lost. Rescue came too late. The bodies were dragged from the water over the following hours, laid out on the icy banks as grieving relatives looked on in horror. The victims included young children, workers, and even members of respectable London families who had come for an afternoon of harmless fun. The tragedy shook the city. Newspapers the next morning carried harrowing accounts with headlines describing the awful disaster of Regent's Park. Families who had lost loved ones gathered in moaning, while survivors spoke of the desperate scenes that would have haunted them for life. The authorities faced criticism for not preventing skating on such dangerous ice, yet in truth, little could be done. Thousands had taken the risk, and the idea of shutting the park had seemed unthinkable until it was too late. The Regent's Park skating disaster of 1867 became etched into London's memory as one of the capital's great disasters. It remains a cautionary tale, a moment when joy turned into grief in a blink of an eye. Today, when people walk around the peaceful lake, it is hard to imagine the panic, the cries, the heartbreak of that winter afternoon. But the memory of those lost lives lingers, a reminder of nature's hidden dangers and of human safety.